All right, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. It's your good friend Pozzible here, and I'm back in action with another look at another batch that's coming out to theaters this weekend. As you know, the 2 months are down. We've got 10 months left to go in this year already, and we're starting off with a pretty bad start, I gotta admit. For me, there's only been one really good movie this year so far, and that was Kingsman: The Secret Service. Will this batch be able to undo that record? Well, let's find out. I I sometimes wonder if it will or not, but I will say this one thing. There's one word that defines this next batch coming up, and that word is hijinks. It just wants to be a weekend full of hijinks. Starting off with sweet, charming hijinks. These are more the subtle kinds with sweet humor, nice characters, good acting, good dialogue, and all that other stuff. But this is a sequel. Now, the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, the first one, was a sweet surprise for many. I must admit I've never seen it. But that said, it did it well enough to deem a sequel to it. And here, with all these people staying at the Marigold Hotel, there's no more room for visitors. So it's time for people for them to expand and to make out another hotel. And that's where the hijinks come in as they try to move on. This isn't going to be too serious. Remember, we're not talking about comedies like Hangover. We're talking about just sweet general comedy. They work off of charm and sincerity. And movies like this, it's hard to say no to them, except for the fact that they can be boring, really boring. This one, of course, is a decide. If you saw the first Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, take heart with this one. Sequels can rarely recapture the magic the original had. Now, I hope this one is not the case, but I warn that. Take your time on this one. Let some other real critics tell you what they thought of this movie and decide for yourself whether or not this one will be worthy for you. Movies like this are never meant to be blockbusters. They're just meant to appeal to that special audience that's tired of all the explosions. But of course, what do they give us that the other ones do? Well, they gave us a sequel. And we've seen sequels. And sequels, they just don't seem to be able to grasp what they had before. And that's where the shame comes in. I really hope this is not the case. The second Best Exotic Marigold Hotel shows promise, but let time tell. All right, next up. Well, for those of you who really want to see something like The Hangover, we have Unfinished Business. Here, Vince Vaughn plays a hard-working small businessman who takes his 2 employees on a business trip to try to get a business deal so that their small business can stay in business. That said, they have to compete against Vince Vaughn's former bosses. The competition is one thing, but it's the hijinks that get in the way of the business proposal, not of the movie. The whole movie is about trying to keep it together when everything is falling apart in a quote-unquote hilarious fashion. Of course, it doesn't help that Dave Franco's character's last name is Pancake. And he's supposed to justify it because, it's Greek. And James Marshall's like, well, it's delicious, And it's amazing how they're like, yeah, that last name can be a little distracting. The last name is actually not just distracting, it's stupid. But that said, there were some moments in this trailer where I laughed. These shows are very popular, but what worries me is that it's a knockoff version of these shows. We've seen The Hangover. We've liked other movies like it, okay? But when you start following the same genre in different respects, they can be either really good or they can be really bad. So this one will also get to decide with a see it. I have to admit, I did enjoy the trailer. I thought it was interesting. So, the hijinks that ensue are the normal drug hijinks and everything else. So I think it's going to be interesting. And I think it might be worth it. But I'm not really give it a firm, yeah, go for it type of thing. This one's going to get to decide with a slight see it added onto it. Next up, finally coming out, Chappie. I've been so excited to see this movie because I've been so tired of hearing about it. When it comes to Chappie, I think the biggest problem I've had with it is that every movie I've seen has had this trailer in its show, and I will be very happy to see this trailer go away. Chappie is basically this year's more violent version of Earth to Echo, where basically Chappie is trying to be the next Johnny Five from Short Circuit, only he lacks the charm and humor and brevity and life. Here it's more like a lecture, And that's one thing that bothers me about Chappie. There's a lot that bothers me about Chappie. For example, the slums. We're back in the slums again. Where does this genius developer make Chappie? Well, he finds Chappie from spare parts and he's able to make him in the slums because the director from District 9 will not be anywhere else ever, apparently. District 9 was in this place, Elysium was in this place, and now Chappie will be in this place. Chappie, to me, looks a little too preachy to enjoy. You basically have this robot who's supposed to believe he's quote-unquote alive. On the other hand, we're also supposed to debate, what is life? What is existence? Just because, is it really true? I think, therefore I am. Is that really what life is? Or is it body parts, the heart, that all it really does is just pump the blood around? The brain, the nose, the eyes, what is it? I think they take it a little too seriously. Also, when it comes to Chappie, Hugh Jackman's character is violently opposed to this robot. And I don't feel like that was explained well enough in the trailers. I mean, he just comes off as a psychotic. Now, I'm willing to give it a benefit of a doubt, saying that in the movie itself, they're going to give an explanation. After all, Chappie is based off police robots that have been all over that have been used in the slums because we can't go anywhere else. But they've been used all over, and I'm willing to imagine that something went wrong, and the idea that a robot like this would suddenly have the ability to have free thought, the ability to come with ideas and everything, he finds that to be a threat, and a very serious threat at that. That said, Chappie seems a little too serious for its own good, a little too violent for its own good, and yet at the same time a little too childish in a way for its own good. And I just don't think it's going to have a center, a good moment where we can say, yeah, we're supposed to root for this guy. And I don't know, there's just something about it. He doesn't have the magic like I've seen before in other movies like this. Chappie is nothing new. Like I said, he's trying to be the next Johnny Five. Been there, done that. Have to admit, it worked then, but I just don't see it working now. It just doesn't seem to have the je ne sais quoi that I'm looking for in movies. Maybe I might be wrong, but we'll see. Actually, I probably won't be seeing Chappie regardless. Alright guys, that's it for me today. We'll see you at the theaters.